Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Maze MTG here, back with another daily deck video for you for the War of the Spark Chronicles Part 5 Gideon's Sacrifice Ravnica Constructed event. So, as you probably know by now, in this event you can only use cards from Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, and War of the Spark to construct your Arena Standard deck, and Gates Ablaze is banned. So this is the fourth of the 4 decks that we are going to put out before the event goes live, for you to have a look through, peruse, use them as inspiration for your own brews, and to perhaps see what the decks in the meta might start to look like. So, the last deck we're going to have a look at before the event goes live is one that may look quite familiar to you if you've played any Standard recently, and that is Gruul Midrange. Why Gruul Midrange? Well, a lot of the cards that make the Gruul Midrange strategy so powerful in Standard right now are from the Ravnica constructed sets, so the deck doesn't really lose much, aside from a couple of incidental cards like Llanowar Elf, like Rekindling Phoenix, that in the Andre Straczky list was cut for Nullhide Ferox anyway, and you do lose Charging Monstrosaur, but the deck has a reasonable replacement in Skarrgan Hellkite. So, what exactly are we playing? In terms of creatures, we've got 4 Growth Chamber Guardian at the 2 mana slot. It's a 2/2 for 2, you can adapt it for 2 and a green for 2 counters, and when you do put counters on the Guardian, you get another Guardian out your library. So when it effectively attacks as a 4/4 as long as you have mana to hold up, because your opponent can't block with creatures smaller than a 4/4 because of that potential for it to adapt. But then you just go through combat, deal your 2 damage, slam a Spellbreaker or a Domri post. Or you can still adapt if you really want to. We also have 4 copies of Paradise Druid. It's a 2/1 mana dork, so it has power, so it can also go on the offensive, especially when Domri's on the battlefield, and having hexproof while untapped means it's protected from spot removal, and you can hold it back if you really need that mana next turn, where nothing short of a sweeper is going to stop you getting the ramp you desperately need. At the 3 mana slot, we have 12 cards, all of which are playable in standard Gruul midrange, 4 Legion Warboss, excellent at pressuring planeswalkers, excellent on an empty board, turns into an army all by itself very quickly, great with Domri, who is one of our other 3 drops, 4 copies of Domri, global power pump, ramps you. There's not going to be many counter spells being played in the format, I imagine. You've got Teferi, everyone's very much operating at sorcery speed, but just the ramp is important in and of itself, and the -2 gives you some functional pseudo removal, but the deck is also playing some removal spells as well, which we'll come back to in a moment. 4 Gruul Spellbreaker rounds out the 3 converted mana cost slot, just as good here as it is in Standard, very flexible whether you want a 3/3 with haste or a 4/4 that comes into play and starts swinging the turn after. And as long as it's your turn, both you and the Spellbreaker have hexproof. 4 mana slot, 4 Ferox, 6/6 for 4, hexproof. The rest of the text really doesn't matter in this deck, and if it does matter, you can typically pay 2 mana because all of your non-creature spells either cost 2 or 3. We do have 3 copies of Skarrgan Hellkite in the 5 mana slot. This creature was a staple of the standard Gruul midrange decks, but has fallen out of favour for Charging Monstrosaur. We'll see whether that remains correct as the format develops. But also because I wanted to play the card, the art is incredibly sweet, and I think it's probably good in the deck. We do have 2 copies of Ravager Wurm as our curve topper. That Griffin is not going to have a good time. So those are the creatures and planeswalkers we're playing. To run alongside them, we've got 8 kind of spells that give us some interaction with our opponent. So 4 copies of Lava Coil. We don't have access to Lightning Strike, we don't have access to Shock. What we do have access to is Sorcery Speed for damage. Being able to kill things like opposing Gruul Spellbreakers with a counter is going to be important in the format. It's a shame it's not 5 damage, so we could get something like Kefnet, but we don't really have access to that ability. To give us some ability to deal with Kefnet, however, we do have 2 copies of Collision Colossus. It's not just for dealing with Kefnet, you can snipe Thieves of Sanity, and Colossus gives you interaction in combat against any other aggressive and mid-range decks as well. It's like having sideboard options in the main deck. And the last 2 cards, I don't know if it's good, but again, it's something I wanted to try, like Ravager Wurm, 2 copies of Domri's Ambush. So we're going to run through this card just in case you haven't seen it before. It's a sorcery for red and a green. You put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, so if that creature is a Growth Chamber Guardian, it will trigger it, just for the record. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. So 2 points here. 1, it's not a fight, you're just straight dealing the damage to the target, and 2, it can also hit planeswalkers. Important to note, because it can target things like Teferi, like Narset, like Liliana, like Ugin. You don't just have to be killing creatures with this. The mana base, pretty straightforward. 15 basics, 6 mountains, 9 forests, and then 4 Guildgates, 4 shocks, rounds out the 23 lands in the deck. Very functional, very brutal, very aggressive. Let me know what you think about the deck. Is there anything you'd change? Any curve considerations? Any cards you think we've omitted? Please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, like in all of these other videos, we're going to take the deck into a game of Arena Standard and see how it plays out there. Again, even though this video is going live about half an hour before the event starts, we still don't have the event to play other players with Ravnica constructed just yet, so you'll have to forgive me. But well, let's get on to the games. Okay, so we've got our opening hand. It's certainly a keeper. Kind of awkward we don't have double green for Nullhide Ferox just yet, but the mana base does skew towards green. We've got Growth Chamber Guardian and a third land, and we have Lava Coil for interaction as well. So let's see how it goes. Again, we are playing Arena Standard, just because we don't have any opponents in the event yet, because the event hasn't fired. So it looks like we are playing against Mono Red. However, technically every card in play could have been put into a Ravnica constructed deck, seeing as there's only Runaway Steamkin, and that is from Guilds of Ravnica, I believe. So what are we going to do here? We can either Lava Coil the Weird, which I kind of want to do, or we can just play a Growth Chamber Guardian. What do I like doing? What do I like doing? I think we're just going to play Chamber Guardian this turn. I think we're going to play Chamber Guardian this turn. So opponent has Shock. Yep. We take 2. Does opponent have any follow-up? If they do, we're probably just going to untap and Lava Coil it. Skewer us. Yeah, this is fine. We are definitely going to be... Ooh, we drew a Spellbreaker. As much as I just want to deploy the Spellbreaker as a 4-4, probably a much better play on turn 5. Whereas here, we're just going to play land. Opponent missed that land drop, so this is especially tasty. We'll just get rid of the Runaway Steamkin and see what opponent wants to do. So I do have a third mana. Viashino Pyromancer is fine. We're on 13. But our follow-up is Nullhide Ferox. So one of those cards is not like the other. Ooh, Legion Warboss. Is it worth playing Warboss? It's not very mana efficient. We'll just play Ferox. We'll just deploy Ferox. Then if we draw another land, we get the decision of... Well, we don't get a decision because this can have haste. We're going to play Warboss Guardian if we draw land. If we don't, we're going to play Ferox. Ferox is pretty good against Mono Red. Opponents coming in. We'll block if they do. Snap block. So we didn't discuss the eventuality of drawing land that we can't tap for mana. So we're going to play Guildgate. 100% going to slam with Ferox. If the opponent couldn't attack into one Ferox, can't imagine they can attack into the next Ferox. And 6 damage is a lot of damage. We will have lethal on board next turn between the Feroxes and Spellbreaker if we cast Spellbreaker. So opponent will be in chump mode. Like, this card is just fantastic. Just a 6/6. So risk factor. So we can either have risk factor deal 4 to us, or the opponent can have 3 cards. They only have 3 mana. So how do I decline? You can just have 3 cards, opponent. I don't care. I do not mind. The opponent doesn't have enough time to leverage all these cards, I don't think. Chain Whirler, sure. Doesn't do anything. Opponent can't even double block. Is Domri good here? Well, we can't cast Domri, so Domri's not good here. But we're just gonna... So do we play Spellbreaker with haste? No, because Chain Whirler can block it. So what we just do is, we attack with both, then we're gonna make a 4/4 and a 2/2. I imagine... Wow, opponent just takes. Okay. So we make a 4/4, we make a 2/2. We're at 12, opponent has 3 mana. They have all the cards in the world. They have Shock for Guardian. That doesn't bother me. Because we also have mana to... we can't shut down both our Feroxes. So we can't ever cast Domri, is interesting. But opponent has to chump all our creatures on this board. Opponent just attacks with Chain Whirler. Is there any way this goes badly for us? No blocks. We'll take. Opponent would need... Yeah, opponent can't win. Cool. So, Gruul midrange got there against mono red in standard. So I think the deck probably has a reasonable enough power level for Ravnica Constructed given that performance. Well, specifically Nullhide Ferox has the power level for Ravnica Constructed. What a card. 6/6 for 4, effectively hexproof. What can you do about it? So, if you have any comments on the deck, on the event, any thoughts at all, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you want to see more like it, I don't know whether we will release any more for Ravnica Constructed after it goes live, but if we do, if you subscribe and set notifications to let you know, you'll certainly find out. Otherwise, we're going to continue with daily decks, with draft VODs, all that good stuff moving forwards anyway. And if you want to catch me playing any of these decks live, I'll be playing them on my Twitch channel, linked below in the description, twitch.tv/mazemtg. Otherwise, wherever you are in the world, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic day, a fantastic weekend, and good luck in the War of the Spark Chronicles event.